What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here and Happy New Year to you. Hope that you had a wonderful New Year's, and I cannot wait for what this year has in store, even though I have no idea what that is. I am just ready to take on the new year. I'm feeling kind of optimistic. It is feeling a little weird for me because this is my first video being 30. And that was a weird one. I wanted to just do something where I took 30 of my favorite photos and I wanted to kind of talk about them. I think a big reason why I want to do this video is just to kind of combat that negative nagging part of my brain that's telling myself that I'm not as successful as I should be at this age. And I know that that's not true, and that's a matter of perspective, and I've actually done a lot in my life. And so I wanted to just take a second and dive into some of my favorite photos that I've taken all before I turned 30. So let's get started. This is like my 7th time trying to film this video. I filmed the intro to this video at like, I don't know, like 8 o'clock this morning. And then at about 12 o'clock, 12:30, I wrapped up all of the shooting of the meat and potatoes of this video and decided to go get a haircut. Went and got a haircut, came back, started editing the video, and realized the entire back half of the video I did not like, and there was a bunch of stuff messed up, and the sun had moved, and so I was getting all these like sunspots coming through the blinds on my face. And so I decided I'm gonna reshoot it. So this first photo has so many layers as to why I like it. There's so many layers of like my personality that all kind of mesh together in this, and I think the perspective is something that I think is really cool. I love that it almost feels like it could have been shot in the air with the aircraft. I love that it's like a blending of different times, different eras of military aircraft. You have this old school like World War II P-51 Mustang or P-40, I don't remember the specific model, and then you have this modern day fighter jet. Obviously I'm not in the military anymore, but I do really love this photo. I think it's really cool. I love the perspective. And once I put it in black and white, it was just like, it was a done deal. It was one of my favorites. I have another photo of just the older aircraft, just kind of on its own. It's got a trail coming behind it, and that one also looked really cool. But this one was definitely one of my favorites, and I wasn't even going to go and shoot the air show. Like, it was a last minute spur of the moment thing where I had a couple friends in my platoon came to my room and knocked on my door and said, "Hey, want to come with us?" And I said, "Yeah." And it turned out to be a really good time, and there's a lot of memories and nostalgia that I have just thinking about that day. And I really love those guys. I miss those guys. I can't believe that it's been 10 years since I've really even seen them. And so if they're watching this by some chance, I love you guys. You guys will always hold a place in my heart, and I will always love you guys. And I think about you often, and I hope you guys are doing well. So moving on to the next photo. So this photo was at a time in my life where I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps, and I was trying to make photography my life. I was trying to find any way that I could to make a living off of photography. And so I started doing weddings on the weekends and stuff. And I rented a camera and a lens from Pictureline. I rented the Canon 5D Mark IV with an 85mm prime lens, and I rented it for a weekend. And Pictureline is closed on Sundays, and because of that, you get that extra day for free. They don't charge you the rental on that. I wanted to take advantage of that, and so I reached out to my little brother Logan, and I said, "Hey, you want to drop what you're doing and model for me and do a photo shoot?" And he said yes. And I'm super grateful for him for doing that. I'm super grateful that he continues to occasionally do that for me. And I think I had so many photos from this shoot with him that day, just kind of around downtown Salt Lake City and up at the Capitol building in Salt Lake. And this one turned out to be one of my favorites. I love that it just feels so casual, but also like he has this outfit that just looks pristine and elegant and just so high class, so high end. I don't know, like he just looks badass. And I think that this is a really good photo of him. I mean, thought his outfit looked great. I thought his hair looked great. And I thought his demeanor and his vibe just, he brought it, and it was great. And so I'm super grateful for him for letting me shoot him. And this was one of the earlier stages of me doing any sort of like portrait stuff, and I think that this is one of my favorites from that day. So this next photo, this was taken in New York. It was like one of our last days in New York, and we jumped on the subway and we rode it all the way into Brooklyn, and then just outside the subway station you can kind of walk around this corner and go down this street, and there's this place called Dumbo, and normally it's packed with tourists. Everyone's trying to take a photo here, and when we got there, there was no one there. There were maybe like 4 other people that were there. The rest of the street was pretty much empty. One of the best compliments I had ever gotten in my photography career was when someone said that it seemed like something that Peter McKinnon would take. And I freaking love Peter McKinnon. There's a lot of times, especially in the earlier stages of my photography, where I would just look at Peter McKinnon videos like all day long, and I would just be like, man, look how cool this looks. I would love to take something this awesome someday. And so when someone compared it to something that he would take, just to be in that same ballpark and that same bracket was one of the biggest compliments I've ever received as a photographer. But that same day, we decided to walk back on the Brooklyn Bridge, and then I snapped this photo, and I don't know, there was just something about it where I was like, ooh, I think I got it. I think that was the shot. And sure enough, got it in the editing stage of things, and I threw a black and white filter just to see. It added a sense of character that otherwise wasn't there, and I just loved it. And I love the leading lines in it. I love that line that goes, the center stripe lane line that goes straight down the middle. I love these two people in the side of the frame. I have thought about, with modern editing, about trying to do like a remove tool to get rid of that trash can. It seems a bit distracting, but for now I just kind of leave it because that's how it was. And I love even to the small details of seeing the One World Tower in the background, as well as that American flag waving in the wind up on top of the bridge. But again, turned out to be one of my favorites. So this next one, so I took this one in Oregon when I was on a trip there, and we went on a hike. It was a great hike, took tons of photos, love all of them. They're so good. And I just reached a point where we were like, all right, let's start heading back to the car. And Logan was just gone. He'd gone way far ahead of us. And by the time we got back to the car, Logan was like, hey, Trev, like, come over here. I want to show you something. So I went up into the trees and everything, and he shows me this waterfall. And I go to set up my tripod. I had this little small like handheld like tripod that could fit in my pocket. It was maybe like this big. And I set it up and my camera was too heavy and it started like to slide. And I realized that I'd been trying to tighten it down so much and it just could not. The camera was just too heavy and it snapped. And so the tripod was broken. I couldn't use it. And so, but I really wanted these shots of the waterfall and the river. And so I ended up stacking my camera on some rocks, and then built another stack of rocks to balance my lens. And then I would set a timer, and I would click the shutter, wait for the timer, wait for the long exposure, and I would just sit there with my hands above the camera waiting for it to fall. And so, yeah, I think for the story of the photo, I think it kind of makes it a little bit more of like an epic shot, considering that I didn't have anything other than I was balancing a stack of rocks to try and get this. But I do think, looking back at it, I don't like that the top 2/3 of the photo are pretty much dead space of just the trees. I do love the photo, and I do have other photos from this same spot, but this one does kind of, I don't know, it just kind of stands out. This next photo is another one of my staple photos, but it's honestly not like anything that's like super great. This is from that same Oregon trip. We took a day and went to the coastline, went to Cannon Beach. Logan was freezing. He was wearing his jacket, long pants, hoodie, put the hood on and everything, and I just caught this candid moment of him walking on the beach. I don't know, there was something about it that kind of was like a little bit mysterious, kind of draws you in, like what's the story here? Who is this person? And there was like a little bit of like a moodiness to it. It was almost cinematic, but I really thought that it was just like a cool shot, and another one of those like really good memories that I have with my little brother, and him being a good sport about being my model, even though after taking this, he was like, dude, I'm freezing, stop taking photos of me, I'm going to wait in the car. Logan, thank you. So these next photos, so I tested out of all of my photography classes except for one of my upper division photography classes in college. And I was going to test out of that one, but the professor told me not to because he was like, I really think you could benefit from some of the things we learn in this class, like the business side of photography and things like that. And I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and take the photography class. And I really enjoyed that class. Our first assignment was to study a photographer in history. And I picked Alfred Eisenstadt. He's the photographer who took the famous V-Day photo. If you don't know what it is, I'll find it and I'll put it up on the screen here. So I had to write a report about this photographer and then do a presentation about them. So I did the presentation. Then he said, all right, now for your second assignment, now you have to find a photo that that photographer took and you have to replicate their photo. But I took this photo of Marilyn Monroe and had to replicate it as precisely as I could to try and make it exact. And so my wife at the time was so generous and modeled for me. By the end of this photo, she wanted to kill me because it was so many little minute things where I had the photo and I was looking at my camera and I was looking at the photo and I would sit there and I'd go back and forth and I'd go, no, like we got to bring your head this way. Nope, you got to bring it that way. No, split the difference. You got to find, nope, open your mouth. Nope, too much, close. And she was just at wit's end by the end. She just was sitting there and she's like, my head doesn't move that way. Like I can't do what you want me to do. And I was so grateful that she still put up with me and that I got this photo. And I'm so thankful to her and grateful for her help. And I'm so proud of how this photo turned out. And a lot of hard work went into it, and it turned out phenomenal in my opinion. And I was so proud of it. To this day, it's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, and I do want to do more projects like this. It really planted a seed that made me want to do more of these creative, artistic kind of style shoots. And I've thought about even kind of doing that, you know, doing little things where I highlight a photographer and then replicate their style. And if you think that that's something that you'd be interested in seeing, drop it in the comments and let me know a photographer that you really admire that you think that I should try to replicate their style. So this next photo, so I took this in Moab. It was a blue moon the night before, and at like 4 in the morning, I'm taking photos and I'm watching as like the moon's getting ready to kind of set on this ridge line. There's like this giant cliff wall, and the sky's still dark, but like it's starting to kind of enter that blue hour behind me. And then I see this like little V crest thing like that kind of is down a ways, and I'm like, you know, man, if I was like 25 yards that way, I bet I could catch the moon setting right into that crevice. I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, nah, I don't know if I'll have time. And I was like, well, we're gonna try. So I took my tripod and my camera, slung it over my shoulder, and I just started running through the brush and through the sand and the dirt and the desert. And I got out there, I set up my tripod, set up the shot, and we'd entered blue hour, but I had a couple shots before, and I snapped a couple shots as the moon starts to set and the sun starts to come up right up behind me. I watch as the sun lights up the rock face and that moon starts to set. So this is like 3 separate photos that I kind of combined all together. I get a lot of compliments on this one. A lot of people really like it. It's definitely one of my favorites. The reason why this photo is one of my favorites is because Canon USA liked and commented on the photo when I posted it to my Instagram, but also I got to do something with this photo that planted a seed in my life where I started to kind of see a possibility in something, and that was potentially teaching. I set out to this place called Cascade Springs, and I went hiking in to try and find where this little waterfall area was. And I didn't even shoot the waterfall that I meant to go there for, but I crossed over this bridge at one point and I saw this composition and I was like, ooh, that's the shot. So I kind of sat down on the bridge and started trying to shoot. And I felt like people were watching me, and so I kind of like looked over my shoulder, and sure enough, there were a bunch of old people that were right behind me, and they were like, what are you shooting? And I kind of showed them the back of my camera, and they're like, oh, wow. And then I kind of gave them a photography lesson. So this was like the only photo I shot that day. I didn't even shoot the waterfalls I meant to shoot, and it kind of planted the seed of like, maybe there's something to that in the future. I do really look back. Not only am I really proud of this photo and how it turned out, but I love the story behind it. So this photo, this was from my senior capstone when I was in college. We had just wrapped shooting. The sun was setting. I just popped off a really quick shot and caught this flare. But Loved this shot, and it was a major point in my life and in my career. So at work, I have this shot hanging next to my desk. It's printed on a textured metal. I think it's a really cool photo. It feels very intimate, but I truly do love this photo. I think it's one of my favorites. This is another photo where it's like one of those things you don't see all the time. This was a lunar eclipse. I think space is terrifying, but it's also fascinating. This was something that I was just like super excited that I was able to capture it. Took this one on a drone in Hawaii. This is a place called Queen's Bath in Hawaii, and it is, I mean, I just put my drone in the air and just took a top-down shot, and I love how this photo turned out. So this photo was kind of an accident. It was supposed to be a throwaway photo. I was filming a video talking about why you should use circular polarizer filters, and I was just kind of showing the example of how it helps you to see the rocks through the water because it cuts out some of that reflective light. And I snapped this photo mainly because I was just trying to use an example, and it turned out to be one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. I loved that the air was kind of smoky that day, and so you get some of those God rays coming through the trees. I think in post, I may have touched them up just a smidge too much, honestly. But I do think that it was one of those things where it turned out to be one of my favorite photos, and it was supposed to be a throwaway photo. Took this photo one morning. This is just outside my car. I was driving around Antelope Island here in Utah, and this photo, like, I just saw this bison, and the sun was starting to come up behind it, and I snapped a couple photos. And I have a handful from that day that I was really proud of, but this one was the real keeper. It just was so epic, and so I really liked it. Obviously, I had to throw one of these in here, but this is my pup. This is my girl Fairy May, and it's one of my favorites that I've ever taken. But this actually was not how it was originally shot. I shot it, and then I was working for a production company a couple years back, and I needed to take a photo that already existed of Fairy, and I needed to find a way to match that photo to some headshots that we had done for everyone in the company that we were putting on the website, and we were going to put all the pets on the website as well. And so I had to match using all these photos that already existed from all the animals and all the pets, and I had to kind of re-edit them and make them match and relight them in Photoshop and Lightroom to make them fit within the same photos of everyone else. And I gotta say, it actually turned out to be one of my favorite photos I've ever had of Fairy. Yeah, I loved this. I loved that it was just like so isolated. It was like in the dark, but like I loved her eyes and the detail, and it was so crisp and clean, and just hands down, I just feel like it's gotta be one of my favorite shots of Fairy. It's actually my wallpaper on my phone, actually. Yeah, I was talking about you. So this photo is actually from a film that I was working on called Till Death Do Us Part. You can actually watch it here on YouTube now, but it was made and entered into the Holly Shorts Film Festival, which is an Oscar qualifying festival. And I got to go see the premiere of it in LA at the Chinese Theater on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which was insane. But one day while I was on set, we were in this overgrown cemetery in Park City, Utah. It was really cool. And I just snapped a shot while they were doing a take, and so this was like a behind the scenes snapshot. I just love it. It's super cool. I feel like I caught the action. You know, you get the coattails flipping up, the axe in his hand. It's that black and white, it calls to the film noir days of like gothic horror, like Frankenstein, Nosferatu, like all these things. And so I feel like this photo kind of nails what the vibe of the film is, and you get the hair blown across his face and everything. I just thought this was an epic photo. You've got the smoke in the background. It was a sick photo from a sick shoot, and I just absolutely loved how it turned out, and so it has to be one of my favorites. About a month to 2 months after it wrapped, I went on a trip that was a bucket list trip that I had been hoping to do for years, and that was that I went on an expedition to find and photograph polar bears. While I was on that trip, I got to see the Northern Lights for the first time, and it was one of the most magical experiences of my entire life. This is a plane called Miss Piggy. It crash landed and they left it there. Super cool. There's like some graffiti kind of art stuff that's been painted on the side of it and everything, which is super cool. Seeing the northern lights above it, it just was epic. It was one of the most magical things I've ever seen, and it was truly a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I could not believe my eyes. It was pretty self-explanatory, one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. In Churchill, on that same trip, I took this photo. I really wish that I could have taken a photo that really captured the trees, because I was so intrigued by the trees, because all of them, it's like they all grow on one side. It's like one side of the tree is bare, and then it's like the other side, so it feels like half of a Christmas tree. But this particular photo, I loved it. It was super cool. It was like all covered in frost. It was early in the morning, and I wanted to try and capture the kind of one-sidedness of it, but I feel like I didn't do such a great job at doing that, but I did love how the photo turned out, and so it went down as one of my favorites. This photo is definitely one of my all-time favorite photos I've ever taken in my entire life. This is like the shot. When I take away like what I got out of this expedition, this is one of the biggest photos of my entire life. And this was a mom and her 2 cubs, and it took forever to get them all looking in the same direction, and a lot of people wanted to give up who were around, but when it happened and I nailed that shot, I knew I got it. It was one of my favorite things I'd ever shot. We were all there together, and this one was what I got, and I absolutely love it. It's 10 out of 10, top 10. It's in my top 10 favorite photos I've ever taken. There it is. This was on that same trip to Churchill, Cross Fox. It looked right down the barrel of my lens. I snapped the shot and noticed it had the bird in its mouth, and I don't know, I think it speaks for itself, but it's one of my favorites. I just really like it. I thought it was really cool. We were driving down the road and we saw it off the road. We pulled over, I jumped out of the van, dropped to the ground, started photographing it from the ground. I was trying to get on eye level with it as it just kind of walked perpendicular to us on the road. Like we were on this side and it was kind of coming down this side, and I was just shooting across, and then it got to like right here and then just went this way and just left. But loved it. It was hands down one of the favorite shots I've ever taken. That whole trip was amazing. I also had some medical issues that I was running into on that same trip, and it was brutal because I was out for one of the days because I had to go to the hospital. I was dealing with some stuff, but the last like 2 or 3 days that we were there, I was struggling. And we'd been so blessed. We were seeing so many polar bears and stuff, and it was honestly one of the greatest things I could have ever asked for. And we're sitting there, I'm just trying to manifest it. I'm just trying to bring that positive vibes, hoping for the best. And sure enough, I'm sitting there in the back seat. You will see an Arctic fox, you will see an Arctic fox. And someone goes, there's an Arctic fox. Pulled over, jumped out of the van, and it posed right there on the rocks. I got a video of it kind of like walking around a little bit. It stopped, looked at us. I snapped some photos, and then it dipped and went behind the rocks and stuff. But it was, again, one of the most magical experiences. While we were photographing it, a car came behind us and was like honking at us, and she was like, there's a polar bear right there. And I was like, I don't care. I'm looking at this freaking Arctic fox. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of concerning that there was a polar bear over there. But our guide had it under control and everything, so I'm sure. This photo was one of those photos where I really liked it. I loved it. We'd been watching this bear. We'd kind of been playing leapfrog with it, where like we would take photos. It would kind of walk down the beach, and then once it got past us, then we would get in the van, we would go, and then we would kind of repeat that process. And we were waiting for it to come around this peninsula, so we had come and we were waiting to watch as it came around this little like peninsula thing. And it never came, and so we were like sitting there, we're all watching right here, and then it popped up over behind us, and so we all flipped and turned around, and so I was just a little bit below it because it was kind of on this hillside. And so I got this shot where not only does it look like I'm like super close to it, I mean I was pretty close to it, but I was sitting there, and because I was able to get below eye level and I was able to kind of shoot up the hill, it just looked so majestic and so much bigger. And it's kind of like smelling the ground and everything, and it's kind of like looking down, and you've got the clouds and stuff. And then I just kind of saw like potential where I threw it into black and white and was like, that's the shot. Like a couple seconds later, a cub comes up and over the ridge and is following it. And so it was just a mom and her cub, and they just kind of wandered, just walking past us. They walked in between us and the road, so we had to wait, and it just walked. And yeah, I loved this photo. I felt like there was an emotion that it invoked, and I feel like the black and white really kind of hit that home, so loved it. So this is another photo of Fairy where I was actually setting up for a video, and I set this little like stool thing, cushion thing. I set it down, and Fairy jumped up on it, and I snapped a couple photos of her just with the lights on and everything. It was just like the perfect setup, and I snapped this photo. I love her little ears. She's a little Dobby dog, and she's my little Fairy May, hoo hoo lele, and I love her to death. She's my best friend, and I love this photo. So this photo, I took this in British Columbia in the Great Bear Rainforest, and I went there looking for spirit bears, and we didn't see any, but we did see some of these guys, and I got to watch this guy fish in the river for salmon, and this photo of the salmon in its mouth and the rain coming across the framing. I don't know, it just kind of was one of those shots where I was like, yeah, like I really like this, and it just like, I just felt like I was at peace, like truly, it felt so peaceful out there, and I was like, okay, I have to come back and do this again, and the photo was great. But because I didn't get to see what I went there for, obviously I have to go back. But this made the list because I love it. It's one of my favorites, and it kind of is one of those things where I've come a long way in so many aspects of my life, but I'm truly at peace when I'm out in nature, and getting to witness this and see this was something that was really special. This is one of my more recent photos. I do a walk every single day with my dog where I do a mile-long walk. Bare minimum, it's a mile a day. And one day in October of 2025, I was walking, and I just looked over, and the leaves were falling, and this vintage truck was just parked on the street, and it was surrounded by like it was the blue and the orange contrasting colors, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to photograph that. But then I was like, but all these leaves are gonna fall, and so I have to take it today. And so I finished the walk, threw my camera in my car, and on the way to work, I drove past this spot, pulled over, jumped out of the car, went by one of the trees and shot through the tree. And I snapped this photo of the truck, and I just instantly was like, that's the shot. I think I took maybe 2-3 photos, and then jumped back in my car because I had to make it to work, but this was definitely one of my... This is a model named Dasha. And she's from Ukraine. I recently shot with her in October of 2025 is when I first met her. This was from my first shoot with her, and it was one of my favorite photos. The thing that I love the most about this is that it feels so candid. It feels like she was just like at a cafe and she just happened to turn and look behind her, and that I just got lucky and snapped the shot. But that's just because she's that good of a model. Like she's great at what she does, and she's one of my favorites to work with. And this was from the first time I worked with her, and I really thought that it was one of my favorites. So I really liked this one. This one was part of a calendar photo shoot that I did. It's a bikini sports car photo shoot, and the money goes towards Parkinson's research and Parkinson's like care, things like that. I saw a post, they were looking for a photographer, and I reached out and was just like, hey, I'm just looking for stuff to shoot, so do you need another photographer? She said, send me some of your work. So I did, and she was like, we'd love to have you. And now I think I'm like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 months out of the calendar, and I left that shoot thinking that none of the photos turned out, but this one was one of the ones that it's not getting used for the shoot or anything, but now it's gotten published in a magazine, and it was kind of a misfire. Like I meant to take this photo, but I didn't mean to have such harsh shadows. I meant to have like a little bit of fill. So I have another photo that was supposed to be what I was going for, but I liked this one better, so I kind of edited it and tweaked it, and ended up thinking that this one was my favorite. This is another photo of Dasha from one of the other times that I've worked with her. And I don't know, I threw this in black and white, and I I think it is one of my favorite photos. I love the position of it. I love the mystery of it. I love the artisticness. I don't know, there's like an emotion that that is just brought out with it. I freaking love this photo. And I think that, again, Dasha just does her thing, and it looked super cool. All right, last one. All right, photo number 30. So this is actually one of the most recent photos that I've taken at work. I work for a company called Blade HQ. They're one of the biggest online knife retailers in the world. I absolutely love this photo, and I don't take a lot of photos with kitchen knives and stuff, but I just thought the wood handle on this looked amazing. I wasn't really given much guidance on what to do with this, but I just kind of was like, okay, I think I've got an idea. And it's something that I love about my job, is that I have some creative freedom to kind of just go and do my own shoots. It's such a testament of how far I've come in my photography, and I just was so proud of how this turned out. I just think it's such a beautiful photo, and it's where I'm at in my life, and I feel like this is kind of where I'm supposed to be. It's hard to think that way sometimes, because life kind of happens, life gets in the way, you're not making enough. There's a million reasons why you think, you know, life is working against you, but I take a photo like this and I'm like, yeah, I've come a long way, and every photo that I've taken has gotten me to this part of my life and my journey in photography. And coming back to this 30 photos for 30 years and trying to combat this side of my thinking that thinks, you know, I'm not where I'm supposed to be by age 30, and I'm not as successful as I'd like to be. I have a million times where I have this negative self-talk, and one of the best ways to fight that is to not focus on where I'm not, and focus on where I am now, or sometimes even look at how far I've come. If you stuck around to this part of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me your time. And if this was content that you liked, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if that's something that you're interested in. Also, I do plan on making more content that is behind the scenes content of me going out doing shoots and stuff with this camera setup, where I have the GoPro shooting behind the scenes on top of my Hasselblad. So if you're interested in watching that content, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Happy New Year. Peace.